Right, I need to know, do you think Anton and Georgia really like each other? The past two nights was episode 22 and 23 of Love Island All Stars, and I'm still so confused about Joanna going to Callum and saying that she liked him. I know that we only see a small section of what's happened in the day, but to me she was not showing any interest in Callum whatsoever, and then all of a sudden she says that she liked him, and he was like, oh, I was picking up the vibes. It was much like when Arabella went to Josh and says that they had been eye-fucking each other for however many days, and I was like, what? Is it just one of these situations where somebody looks at them or talks to them and then they're like, oh, I'm just interested in them now? Georgia S was trying to explain to Callum once again the situation with Toby and how when he got up to do his speech, then it brought these feelings back and how they've got history and all that. And Callum was just so not interested, right? But one of my friends tagged me in a video to her on some other dating show when she was younger, and she had ordered a margarita or whatever cocktail, and the guy ordered water, and she had a total problem with this guy drinking water. So the two people on the show, I don't know if they were like counsellors or whatever, and they were saying to her, he can drink what he wants and you can drink what you want. You're very selfish. And I just, every time she opens her mouth, I'm like, she is Amber Heard all over. Like, you can totally see that she's got a personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. She will lie to your face and point blank not even know that she's doing anything wrong. She blames everything on everybody else, and she'll be like, oh, I'm disappointed in you. You're the one who's been a fucking cunt. After Chris made his speech the other day when he was picking Joanna, I came on here and I was talking in my video about how, like, it can't even be serious for 2 minutes, right? And it's one thing to be funny and jokey and all that, but when everybody else is getting nice stuff said about them, sometimes it's okay for you to do that just a wee bit without making jokes all the time. So she was saying to Arabella that she wasn't feeling it because she felt like his speech was sarcastic. And I didn't think it came across as sarcastic, but I felt like it was just too jokey, and it would have been doing Manhattan as well. Joanna was saying that when he was doing his speech, it was more like his showman personality, and apparently he's got a lot of followers on social media. But I totally agree, he's just too much joke. It's as if it's a performance all the time. But then, when she told him that she was talking to Callum, I actually felt so sorry for him, because he had obviously told Arabella in the past that he had kind of changed his personality for other people, and she was like, that you should never have to change your personality for people, like, always be yourself. And at that point I kind of thought maybe he is being genuine, and maybe he is just naturally like a jokey person all the time, even though it's really annoying. And I felt bad because when he was saying Arabella, I genuinely think that she accepted that side of him, and she thought it was genuinely funny, and she was willing to put up these jokes all the time. But obviously a shiny new toy came in and he was like, oh, just to let you know I like her now. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to feel sorry for people sometimes when you've seen what they've done in the past. But meanwhile, Toby was absolutely kissing Chrissy's ass about his speech, and he was saying, oh, I know you were saying it as a joke, but I could really see that you were showing your feelings and you were being vulnerable. That's all fine and well when you've known somebody for years and they know your personality, but it's not alright for somebody who doesn't know you that well and you're trying to show them how you feel. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's alright to just not tell a joke for 3 seconds. So Callum and Joanna were speaking, and he was like, oh, I've noticed that you've been interested in me and I've been interested in you. And it's just weird. I feel like sometimes somebody will say, oh, I've been interested in you, or I've noticed you, or I've been looking at you, and then the other person just instantly will go, I've noticed you too. It's literally like the way people used to act in high school. Like, you would hang about with somebody for a wee while and then you'd go and kiss them, and then a couple of days later you'd kiss their pal. But these people are grown adults, right? They're not in high school. So Craig David came into the house to perform, and Anton actually lost his shit. And I says to my pal, oh, it was Craig David that performed when Anton was in, because I remember him nearly greeting over it. So he was going mental, and then they brought in this other guy who was Arabella's ex, who I don't know if he was on Love Island or what, but I can't remember him. So they were all dancing and having like the best time ever. Anton was like fucking going nuts. And then at the start of that episode, it showed him like on the stage with the mic, and I was like, oh my god, like what's he got to do, right? My pal came in later on, and I was like, he's got to get up on this stage with the mic. I think he's going to ask her to go out with him. So then when he got up and he was giving his speech and all that, and it was all nice, and it was a bit cringy, right? But at least he's willing to put his feelings out there, and he doesn't need to make jokes fucking constantly. And then he asked her to be exclusive or whatever, and she was like, I do, right? And it was actually quite cute. But I still don't know if this is a strategy, because I feel like I really like Anton, but I don't know if he likes her, because when he was saying to her how much he liked her and how he's not going to turn his head and all that, I kind of feel like he wasn't being genuine. And I don't know if she likes him. Like, let me know what you think in the comments. Then they got a text and they were told that a couple was going into the hideaway and they chose Anton and Georgia. And that is the most covered up I've ever seen anybody going into the hideaway in my life. Now, I'm not saying that just because you go into the hideaway means you need to go in a thong and nipple tassels, right? But she was fully covered, right? She wasn't like trying to be sexy or anything. But I don't know if that's because of her sex tape that she had out and she's trying to be like, you know, more covered up and respectful or whatever. I don't really know, but she had no intentions of doing anything in that house. Chris took Callum for a chat and he was saying, I know it's not your fault that Joanna came to you and says that she liked you, and I think you should crack on and see if yous get along or whatever. And he was being very understanding about it, right? I must admit that he was being quite mature about it, but what other option could he have? Because when he was seeing other people, he had turned around on several occasions and said, oh, I'm going to get to know somebody else, and then he didn't like their reaction. Like when he says to Arabella that he wanted to get to know Sophie, and then she went mental. So he had no choice but to be an adult about it and be like, I just carry on and do what you've got to do. So then it was time for the games, and they had to vote for the least compatible couple and couples that maybe don't really like each other or who are in the house for clout. And I felt like every time they voted for Georgia S and Toby, she was so defensive and she came out with the same shit about them having history and all that. And why couldn't she just say, right, okay, understand, or like, just okay, it's not a big deal, right? At the time it was just a game and they didn't realise how serious it was going to be. A lot of people were voting for Joanna and Chris, which I thought was valid because her liking Callum just came out of nowhere and then she was getting really upset about it. But I didn't really understand why Anton was upset with Chris, because he was just defending Joanna because she was getting upset and he was like, oh, you're doing my head in now or whatever. And I kind of thought, where did that come from, right? But when Joanna was sitting there greeting, they were all like, oh, for God's sake, oh, this is ridiculous and all that. Like, people are allowed to feel upset because she felt as if they thought she'd done something wrong by going to speak to Callum, even though most of them have all done that before with other people. So Chris was defending Joanna, and he was getting quite upset because she was crying and stuff. But Georgia S, right, for somebody who seemed so upset, didn't shed a tear. She probably can't cry because she's got a personality disorder. And Toby just sat there annoyed. And Casey, like when anybody picked Casey and the girl that he's paired up with, he was sitting there like pure in a bad mood. So I don't know why they all had a problem with Joanna getting upset. So when it was time to pick the least compatible couple, I was shocked when nobody picked Georgia and Anton. But obviously, Georgia wasn't happy because Anton wrote Joanna and Chris. And she was like, oh, if I knew it was going to be serious, then I wouldn't have picked him. But that's the thing, you have to think about everything on reality TV. She told him to pick as if it wasn't a big deal. Aye, okay, she didn't know Maya was going to come in. But then she blamed him as if it was his fault. She's the one who said, oh, I can't be arsed, just pick somebody. And then she blamed him for writing down who he wanted. So then, in the end, I think that the couples that had to stand was Joanna and Chris, Arabella and Joe, Callum and who he's with, and Casey and who he's with, is that right? And then tonight they've got to vote to see what boy and girl leaves. So let me know in the comments who you think they're going to vote to leave. I think Arabella's standing there absolutely crap herself, but I don't think they're going to vote her out, to be honest. But let me know in the comments who you think deserves to go.